You're not to have any contact with any minors. There are no exceptions to that.
An accused kidnapper caught red-handed, stealing a 2-year-old girl out of her own home. She claimed the girl was her long-lost daughter, but then walked it all back, literally saying, "It's not my daughter. My mistake." This is Scandal, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Sierra Gillespie. This episode of Scandal sounds like a scene out of a movie. A strange woman thrusts herself on a loving Arizona family. Out of the kindness of their hearts, they let her stay the night. Then, she allegedly kidnaps their 2-year-old daughter, claiming the girl is her own long-lost daughter. They're missing for more than a day when another set of strangers recognize them from an Amber Alert and report it to police.
The Amber Alert, the one I yesterday?
Amber? Yesterday? That one. He's on the phone outside now.
But that's not where the bizarre nature of this story ends. No, the suspect decides to speak to police. And when she does, she says the weirdest things, like claiming the child was her biological daughter, and later, "Don't act like it was a home invasion kid killer or something, because they invited me to stay." If you're interested in cases like this one, we're talking top true crime news, body cams, interrogations, and even deep dives into some of the most scandalous of cases, then make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss anything. Now, on to the case of Marina Noriega. Today's scandal takes us to Avondale, Arizona. It's a city just outside of Phoenix, and that's where little Kaylani Rogers lives with her family. And let me start by saying, I've seen Kaylani's age reported multiple different ways in multiple different places. So for instance, on the missing poster from officials, it says 3 years old. In court documents, it says 2 years old. Some news stations say 3, others say 2. I'm going with 2 because that's what's in the court documents, but whatever her age is, it's safe to say that Kaylani is a toddler. She's a young little girl, someone who should be safe in her own home and with her parents. But that's not what happened over the weekend when a stranger was invited into Kaylani's home and the stranger allegedly stole her. That person is the defendant in today's story. It's 23-year-old Marina Noriega. According to court docs, Marina is from California, but was recently, quote, dropped off in Arizona. The court docs literally say she was unhoused. She does not have an address in Arizona. Her father and boyfriend are back in California, according to her. They're both in jail, so she says she has nowhere to go. I mean, at least that's what she told Kaylani's family. Now, this part is another odd aspect to the story. The court docs don't say exactly how Marina met the Rogers family, but essentially, they met her. They knew she was down on her luck. She told them this story about being dropped off in Arizona and made other strange statements too. The victims recalled Marina making spontaneous statements about her baby daddy, and when asked if she had children, she said she did, but later recanted that statement. The family also reported hearing Marina mentioning that she had a dead baby. The family thought the comments were strange, but allowed Marina to remain at the residence under the belief that Marina may have recanted personal details to protect herself around strangers. And maybe that's the case. I mean, when you just meet someone, you don't want to tell them everything, all of your details right away, so maybe Marina was just protecting herself. But even still, the Rogers family knew she was in trouble. So out of the goodness of their hearts, they invited her back to their home. The family opened up their spare bedroom to Marina and said, "Hey, have at it, you can stay the night." They all had dinner together, and then finally around 11 p.m. on February 20th, Kaylani's parents went into bed in the master bedroom. And at the time, they reported seeing Marina in the living room wearing her pajamas, probably getting ready for bed. Now, the Rogers family, they have 3 children, and all 3 kids went to bed with the parents in the master bedroom that night, Friday night. Her parents later moved Kaylani to, quote, her bed or the couch, and then after that, they all fell asleep. And everything was normal until the early morning hours of February 21st. One of the babies woke up crying, so the father got up, made a bottle. And at the time, he says he saw Kaylani, she's still inside the home, everything's cool, and Marina is in the living room, she's up and watching TV. So the dad goes back to bed and wakes up again between 5:40 and 6 a.m. when one of the babies is crying again. But this time, it's different. When he leaves the master bedroom to prepare a bottle, he noticed Kaylani is missing, and so too is Marina. So the dad wakes up everyone in the home. The mom, their cousin Victoria, who happens to be staying there, everyone, all the adults, all the kids, everyone is immediately looking for little Kehlani. They look through the entire home, every single room. They run outside, they check the neighborhood, but nothing. There is no sign of Kehlani or of Marina. And that's when they decide to call police. And here's where things get even more strange. Instead of being honest right away, the mother identifies herself under a false name. She told investigators later there's a warrant out for her arrest. She didn't want to be taken away during the search for Kehlani. And investigators noticed there had been some inconsistencies with her story and the story of the other adults, so they called her out on it. Finally, Kehlani's mom confesses and says, yes, okay, I gave you guys a false name. There is a warrant out for my arrest, but please, let's find Kehlani first and then do whatever you want with me after. So after this kind of blip, the family is very cooperative with police. They hand over their DNA samples, their phones, they give away their passcodes. They say all they want is to find Kehlani and this strange woman who allegedly took her. Avondale police conducted interviews with all of the family. They searched the area, but no luck. So they call in the Criminal Investigation Bureau and later the Arizona Child Abduction Response Team. And that's when an Amber Alert is issued, asking the public for help finding Kehlani and Marina. And that Amber Alert worked. For today's interview, I actually speak to an Arizona attorney. He got the alert himself, and other concerned citizens got the alert too and tipped off police. So the first tip came from a driver who picked up a woman and a child who matched both Marina and Kehlani's descriptions. Now, the driver told investigators that Marina said she was planning to take a train to California. The driver told investigators where he had seen both of them, where they dropped them off, and that led to a break in the case. Some surveillance video showing Marina with Kehlani in a stroller. Now, Kehlani's parents confirmed with investigators that is, in fact, the stroller that is now missing from our home. We believe that's Kehlani. So with this new info, officials rushed to a train station on February 21st, but there's no sign of Marina or Kehlani. According to court docs, Marina did not arrive at the train station, nor was she listed on any passenger manifest for the trains leaving that area. So the clock ticks on, moving the timeline now into the following day, Sunday, February 22nd. And that's when another tip comes in at about 7:30 a.m. A woman matching Marina's description was seen at a Quick Trip gas station with a truck. And at this time, it was actually a handful of guys who were working for Camelback Moving Company. They noticed her and decided to take matters into their own hands. They called 911 and blocked Marina's truck in with their moving van. And all of this, by the way, was caught on camera. So here's the exchange of the movers catching who will later be identified as Marina.
Security guard took a picture of her, and he's like looking at her. And in the thing, it said the lady's wearing like pink pants.
The Amber Alert that went out yesterday?
Remember? Yesterday? That one.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Should I block your truck?
Huh?
Should I block them?
Should block.
You got route
Security call a cop or what?
He's on the phone with the cops right now.
Because the
I
cops
want
will
to get their license plate.
for the Amber Alert, the cops will be here quick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm about to get the license plate.
I'm about to just park in front of them.
Just go, yeah. Stop in front of them so I can get it. Let me write it down.
It's a Texas plate.
Texas plate, what is it?
First responders rushed to the scene where they confirmed the suspect is in fact Marina, and the girl is 2-year-old Kehlani. She's rescued and reunited with her parents. This next part from the court docs is absolutely heartbreaking. Quote, "The victims were contacted and reunited with their daughter, who told her parents that she was scared and wanted her mommy and daddy, but she was okay. Kehlani's parents made it very clear to investigators. We did not give Marina permission to take our daughter anywhere. She did not have custody. She is not her family. We did not ask for this." So armed with all of this information, first responders took Marina to the Avondale Police Department, where she agreed to answer some questions. And the entire interview is really odd. A post-Miranda interview was conducted with Marina, who initially claimed the child was her biological daughter, stating the child was born in Sacramento in September of 2021. 2 years before the child was actually born, and that the child had been abducted from the hospital. Marina claimed to have come to Arizona to find family and located her long-lost child coincidentally at a residence near 107th Street. Investigators pressed Marina on all of this, and she gave inconsistent statements about her baby's alleged abduction. They say she couldn't provide verifiable addresses, she couldn't give names or locations of anything that actually happened. However, they noted Marina admitted a glass pipe located on her person during a search incident to arrest was a pipe she used the day prior to her arrest to smoke methamphetamine during the time she had control of the child. Throughout the interview, detectives were in and out, sometimes leaving Marina by herself. They say during that time she could be seen checking herself out in the mirror, fixing her hair, and overall just grooming herself. They also noted she had no indication of any mental health issues. She was able to name the current president of the United States, she was alert, and she didn't seem disoriented. She did get testy, though, when confronted with the fact that she allegedly abducted 2-year-old Kaylani. But Maria finally admitted Kaylani is not her daughter, and that she would apologize to the family if she could. She told investigators she didn't have a plan to take the toddler. She said she wasn't a serial kidnapper. She just said there was nothing special that made her decide to take Kaylani. She just did. Marina was asked what she would have done if police had not found her, and she said, "Be happy." And when asked if the child made her happy, she said no, and later said, "I shouldn't give a F about her. It's not my daughter, so I shouldn't give a F." Marina said if the child was her daughter, she would love, care, and protect her. And when asked if she loved, cared for, and protected the child she took, Marina stood up and said, No, I don't, because it's not my effing daughter. If DNA proved otherwise, then I would give an F. But it's not my daughter. My mistake. She went on to say, I never said I was trying to be the parent. I never said that I was, but I'm just saying I haven't been in contact with them. But don't act like it was a home invasion kid killer or something, because they invited me to stay over there, and they won't let me stay the night and stay with them. Yes, they gave me a place to stay. Kind of an interesting interview, especially when we're decoding it from the court docs. Now, we have requested the actual body cam or interrogation video. We'll keep you posted with all of that. But the latest is that Marina was in fact booked into jail and charged with custodial interference, which is a Class 3 felony in Arizona.
All right, ma'am. Go ahead, state your name.
Marina Noriega.
Marina appeared in court this week where at times she looked straight bored, but the severity of the alleged crime wasn't lost on the judge or the prosecution.
All right, Ms. Noriega, you are here because you were arrested on charges of custodial interference, a Class 3 felony. Mr. Garcia, based upon the information in the Form 4, I am inclined to find probable cause for that violation. Did you want to make any argument on probable cause?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, I am finding probable cause for that violation. I am appointing you an attorney. I am setting hearings on March 2nd at 8:30 and March 4th at 8:30, both in the downtown Maricopa County Superior Court. Mr. Garcia, Ms. Noriega, in connection with this matter, I must consider and now decide terms and conditions of release. In order to do that, I have reviewed both the Form 4 and I have also reviewed the state's written recommendation in this matter. I'm also going to hear argument from Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia has recommended a $250,000 cash-only appearance bond. Based upon my information or my review of the Form 4, that is an appropriate bond in this case. And I certainly don't want to cut off any argument you may have, Mr. Garcia, but I did see that you are requesting drug testing, and I was wondering if you could touch on the basis of that recommendation in your argument.
There's a little hiccup discussing Marina's alleged drug use, so we'll get back to that in a minute. But first, the judge provides some stipulations.
Do you have any additional argument on terms and conditions of release?
No, Your Honor. We just like to re-urge that the defendant is a danger to the community and a flight risk given the underlying circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Garcia. Having read the Form 4, I do agree with Mr. Garcia that defendant is a risk to the community. And that and I am going to go ahead, as I stated, and set that $250,000 cash-only appearance bond in this matter. In addition, in the event you were able to post that cash-only appearance bond, you would be subject to additional release conditions, including electronic monitoring, house arrest. You're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to have any contact with any alleged victim, complainant, or witness. You're not to have any contact with any minors. There are no exceptions to that. You are not to possess any weapons, no drugs without a valid prescription, and no alcohol. All right, anything further from the state, Mr. Garcia?
Here's where the allegation of Marina's drug use and pipe come back in the hearing.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry. Just to circle back to the drug testing issue, I did a once-over on the Form 4. I did find the basis for our recommendation. Your Honor, toward the end of the Form 4, it does appear that the defendant admitted that a glass pipe was located on her person during the search, and she admitted to using smoking methamphetamine the day before, and that was during the time she had control of the child. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Okay, based upon that, I am going to go ahead and include in my order, in addition to the other items previously mentioned, a requirement that defendant, in the event she is able to post that cash-only appearance bond and secure her release, be subject to drug testing as well.
And that's where the case is right now. Marina has been booked and is being held on bond. But there's still a lot of fallout from this really traumatic incident. So let's toss to our interview and break it all down. Wow, this is a wild case, a true scandal, if I do say so myself. So let's talk it all through with today's guest. It's Dwane Cates, a criminal defense attorney from right out there in Arizona. Thank you for coming on and talking with us today. And I guess let's start with the good info we have. The fact that there was a happy ending here. I mean, a child was missing. I'm sure it was terrifying for the family, but thankfully she was reunited with her parents and her siblings. I mean, we don't often see a happy ending. What are your thoughts?
I live here, so I got the Amber Alert when she went missing, and so I was very, very grateful to find that she got back. But this is a strange story, and I kind of wonder why somebody with three really young children would take in a homeless person. And I guess they're probably just really good people, and they're just trying to help. But it just seems a little risky if you have young children. I mean, pay for a hotel room for her or something. I mean, maybe not bring her into your house with your children.
I thought the exact same thing, because as I was reading this, I thought this family is so selfless and so giving to see a person who's clearly down on her luck. I mean, in the court docs, it literally says she doesn't have an address. It says she's unhoused. So this family is so caring. But then on the same hand, I work in true crime, and I'm like, I don't know if I would have her into my house, not to victim blame or anything, but it is a strange circumstance too. And does that make things more complicated when they do call 911 and say, hey, we've got this woman, her name is Marina, that's all we know? I mean, that's difficult as far as the investigation goes, right?
And also, I mean, it's hard to report a crime when the person was invited into your house and all this. And the police officer's got to be wondering, is there something more to this story? Because, being in this business for quite a while, quite often there's more to the story when you dig in deep to it.
And it is interesting in the court docs. I think investigators, to your point, they're like, okay, something's kind of weird here. And they noted in the court docs that the mother initially gave a fake name. And then she was like, okay, hand up. There is a warrant out for my arrest. I don't want it to be about that, though. I want it to be about finding my daughter. And that, I don't know if it maybe could put back the investigation at all. Like the fact that they weren't completely honest right from the jump. I mean, is that a hindrance at all?
It is. I mean, and investigators are trained to be skeptical at the beginning, and quite often I I attack the police officers on the stand for for confirmation bias. They make a decision, they think they know what happened, and then they only look for things that validate what they think happened. And that happens quite a bit. But really good investigators remain skeptical until they have solid evidence.
And I do think in this case, while we've had a couple of hiccups from the family, honestly, this is the most jarring thing any family could go through. The fact that they put their daughter to bed and then they wake up and all of a sudden she's gone. And so is the strange woman we have in our house. So that's paramount here. The fact that we need to get this little girl back, this toddler who has just disappeared. And as we learn the details of the case, it becomes more and more strange. So the defendant here, Marina, had initially talked to the family and said, yeah, I had a baby. The baby died. I have this weird situation going on with my dad and my boyfriend who are in jail in California, kind of like a weird story. But do you think that helped investigators, the background with this alleged baby she had?
Yeah, I mean, again, any kind of fact that you can investigate and confirm or deny, if they could have confirmed that she had a baby and it was stolen in California, that might have changed the whole investigation. But because it didn't happen, it was really hard for them to confirm that. And the fact that everybody around her's in jail, it might be a red flag.
I think there's a lot going on in this case, to say the very least. The fact that she initially alleges, this was my long lost baby. I was taking back what was mine. I had this baby. It was stolen from me in California. And now, I'm bringing her home to me. She says this to police after she's caught, by the way, and then later recants it and is like, no, that's not my baby. She literally says, my bad, wasn't my baby. It sounds like a movie or a TV show or something where someone would steal back their baby. It sounds like a soap opera, but I mean, I guess how do defense attorneys handle something like this? The fact that she alleged this and then recanted right in front of police.
Well, you have the right to remain silent, but most people don't have the ability. Okay. So she probably should have just shut up. But, the fact that she recanted, can actually eventually help her in that there's clearly mental health issues here. I mean, if I'm the criminal defense attorney on this case, the first thing I do is I get a mental health professional involved and have her evaluated.
That's what I thought too in all of this. Maybe there is something that she did get pregnant. We don't know in California. She mentioned a dead baby. Maybe she had a miscarriage or something unfortunate and it led to postpartum, or she has depression, anxiety, whatever it may be. But I thought it was interesting that in the court documents, investigators noted there are no mental health problems with her. That's what they said. Now, again, that's not them being mental health professionals and evaluating her. But do you think that it's written right there in the court docs is something that her defense in the future is going to have to combat?
Yeah. And again, my question to the officer is, based on your, our conversation with her, you diagnosed her with no mental health issues. I mean, come on. I mean, you have no idea. They have no idea if she has mental health issues until she's evaluated by a professional. And I don't see something like this happening. She clearly was delusional because I believe she really thought that was her baby. And that's kind of the baseline for mental health issues when you're delusional.
Mm-hmm. And if she really did believe that this was her baby, of course she'd be like, I got to get this kid back. This is my baby. This is mine. I need, and it's so weird that we're talking about this because there's this show that I recently watched. It was streaming on Peacock. It was called All Her Fault. And basically it was about someone whose baby was stolen in this show. And it's so weird to have a parallel of something like this where this actually happened. Perhaps this woman did in fact think that this was her baby. Now we talked about mental health, but I do want to note that prosecutors in her hearing said, okay, yeah, she did have a pipe with her. Drugs may have been involved. Does that mean it's an uphill battle for her defense, the fact that she may have been under the influence of something?
Well, yeah. Again, meth does strange things to the brain. So it can cause delusions. It can cause problems. And in Arizona and in most jurisdictions, voluntary intoxication is not a defense. You can't say, oops, sorry, I was high and get, to have the case go away. but it can be used as mitigation.
Right. Like it's her choice if she's the one who chose to use meth. However, the effects did make her feel that way or legitimately think that it was her baby. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. And I guess we jumped right to her confession and then recantation, so to speak. But before that, while the baby, the little girl, the 2-year-old girl is missing, everybody's searching. You said right there in Arizona, you received the Amber Alert. And then what's so crazy to me is it's a moving company just at a quick trip, having their day. And they're like, hey, I think that kind of looks like the suspect here with the missing little girl. Let's call police. Now, that was really cool to me that they reached out to police and they blocked in her vehicle and were like, she's not going anywhere. Let's get police or investigators here on the scene. What do you make of that? The citizens helping out?
Well, and that's the whole premise of the Amber Alerts is to gain the aid of the population to help you find the missing child. And in this case, it worked to perfection. Probably say, I don't know that she would have done anything to the girl had she not been found, but you don't know. And so it could possibly have saved the child's life.
Yeah, that's so cool when it works out the way that it's supposed to, because on my show, unfortunately, I started it talking about a happy ending because unfortunately we don't get to talk about happy endings a lot, which is why I'm excited that we can talk about one today. And the fact that these people stopped her, it's honestly mind-blowing. And I'm wondering down the line, if let's say this does go to trial, do you think both sides would want to talk to these people? I know that we're talking to you as a defense attorney, but for the prosecution, do you think that they would be good witnesses?
Moving people that turned her in?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Again, they will be part of the story, and so but they won't be big witnesses in the case. And there's about a 0% chance this case will go to trial.
Okay, so let's talk about that. 0% chance it'll go to trial. What do you think? Plea deal ahead of all of this?
Oh, yeah, 98% of cases end in plea deals anyway. Okay, and so this isn't a whodunit. It isn't, there are very few disputed facts in this case. Okay, and so, it's going to end up in some sort of plea deal. And it's going to end up with some sort of mental health counseling and treatment and things, which it should. We need to ensure the safety of the community, but we also need to try to make sure this doesn't happen again. You lock her up for 4 years in prison, you let her out. She's going to be more dangerous than if you treat her now. So that, it'll end up in some sort of plea agreement.
And I think there are multiple victims in this case. If this woman truly thought that this was her baby, she has some sort of mental health issue and to your point, does need to be treated. But then again, we have a family here who went to bed with 3 kids going to sleep and woke up with only 2 kids there. The 3rd kid has been taken and the trauma that they're going to have to sustain from all of this. Thankfully, once again, they did get her back. But what do you think this looks like right now? Did they have to talk to investigators? And I guess that's kind of my next question too, is when they're talking to investigators, they went to sleep, woke up, their daughter is gone. How much info can they even give?
I can give the info about the woman that took her. The issue here is that in Arizona there's a Victims' Bill of Rights, so they get to have a say in what the outcome is. Now they can't tell the prosecutor what to do, but the prosecutor has to run any plea deal by them. And Maricopa County is pretty strict about if the victims think the plea deal is too lenient, then they won't give it a lot of the time. Now, again, like I said, the victims can't say you can't give it. Now, there is a difference in that if the victim doesn't want the person prosecuted or punished, they ignore the victim. But if the victim wants them put in jail forever, then they'll give great credence to what the victim says. That's just my experience.
And honestly, I think it's kind of cool that they do that because they're the ones who are greatly affected by all of this. Obviously, it's going to be up to the judicial system to decide what is the outcome here. She hasn't been convicted of anything at this exact point, but I do think it's kind of cool that Arizona has that and talks to them because they're the ones who had to deal with it and will continue to have to deal with it. Even in the court docs, the little girl said, I was scared. I wasn't hurt, but I was scared. I didn't like that. I wanted to come home. And just the follow fallout that they're going to have from all of this. Okay, so we talked about a potential plea deal. Oh, before we jump into that, I want to talk about her court hearing because Marina, the defendant here, appeared in court and it was short and sweet. You know, the judge said, okay, you cannot have under any circumstances contact with the victims here. You can't have drugs or alcohol, all the normal things, you know, posted or the bond, all the stipulations. But it was interesting to me that she almost looked bored in the hearing. There was kind of a podium and she kind of was like, leaning up against it, didn't seem to really care the severity of the fact that she's making national news for abducting, allegedly, a child that she claims to be her own. What do you make of her demeanor in that hearing?
Well, you know, you got to understand, you know, by the time they get to that podium, you know, she may not have slept for, you know, a day, you know, probably hasn't had much to eat, is in a really, really scary environment. And so, you know, everybody reacts differently. So, you know, I don't give much credence to how somebody's acting unless they're just absolutely rude to the judge. And then it's, you know, they're just stupid. But, you know, but she's, you know, but she was, you know, you don't know, you know, you got to give her some slack on her demeanor there because you never know what she's been through to that point.
And you're right. Most of us watching, I assume, or I hope, haven't had to have an experience like that. So we don't know what it's like. And thank you for bringing that up because honestly, to be arrested, have to talk to investigators, or she agreed to rather to talk to them. We don't know how many hours she was there or held or whatever it may be. And so finally she gets in front of a judge and who knows what her status is. And we've been talking about her mental health this entire conversation. So honestly, who's to say? But it all roads seemingly go back to this potential plea deal of what could happen. And you're the one who probably knows best being out there in Arizona. What do you think will be the ultimate sort of sentence or conviction or plea agreement in all of this?
Well, you really don't know going in, okay? But if I were handling the case, I would be. It's going to take the mental health evaluations. They're probably going to have to run her through what's called Rule 11 to make sure that she's competent to stand trial. That can take 3 or 4 months. Okay, so a plea deal probably won't be had for 6 months, maybe a year, and she's probably going to be in jail the whole time. So she's going to get punishment, and so I would argue for probation with mental health terms and time served. Okay, so she has the punishment end of it, okay, which is being in jail while all this is going on, and then the help portion. And so that's probably how I would approach this. Number one, well, first of all, I'd try to get her a plea as quick as possible so she doesn't have to stay there because believe it or not, the county jail's worse than prison. You have less freedoms. You get no personal contact with anybody. You know, you don't go outside. You don't get to see the sun. And because of this involved a child, she's going to be in danger. She may even be in what's called ADSEG, administrative segregation, where she only gets out 1 hour a day out of her cell, you know, because it involved a child and you know, people are pretty brutal in there. And so jail is a really, really tough place.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle for everyone involved in all of this, especially if she has the mental health issues, the rest of the family who's going to have to grapple with what happened. It's a tricky case, but once again, thankfully, we do have a young girl who is reunited with her family. Finally, we can report on somewhat of a happy ending. Dwane, thank you so much for coming on and giving us your expertise from right out there in Arizona.
Well, thanks for having me on it.
And that's where today's episode of Scandal leaves us for now. If you have any ideas about a future Scandal episode, please send them our way. Our tip line is scandal@lawandcrime.com. And if you want to connect with me personally on places like Instagram, you can find me at Sierra Gillespie. Thanks for watching today's episode of Scandal. As always, I'm your host, Sierra Gillespie, and I'll see you next time.